الله الرحمن الرحيم وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وهو رب العالمين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الذي بعثه الله تعالى رحمة للعالمين. أما بعد, as we mentioned last week, today's Sunday, we're going to do and deal with this issue, this mas'ala of the permissibility, in my opinion, to combine between Dhuhr and Asr, or to combine between Maghrib and Isha as a result of the rain. The issue is an issue of ikhtilaf between the scholars. Some of them say you can do it. Some of them say you can't do it. Some of them say you only can do it when the rain is torrential. Some of them say you can only combine between Dhuhr and Asr, and you can't combine between Maghrib and Isha. Some of them say you can combine between Maghrib and Isha, you can't combine between Dhuhr and Asr. So we all have to embrace and understand there's a mas'ala that has ikhtilaf. So that makes it mandatory upon everybody to respect the opinion of those people from the ulama who don't take your point of view, my point of view. It's an issue of ikhtilaf. And it's been a long-standing issue of ikhtilaf. And we are not going to come today to solve the ikhtilaf. And the ikhtilaf comes for many reasons, but we don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to deal with the issue. Starting off as an introduction, I have to mention this because I want you to consider it, because no one's going to deny it from all of the people who have ikhtilaf in the issue. And that is, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam described the religion that he brought as al-Hanifiyya as-Samha, the religion that makes things easy for the people. He told the people sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bashiru wa la tunaffiru, yassiru wa la tu'assiru. Give glad tidings. Don't run the people away. Make things easy and don't make things difficult. That hadith should not be used as an attack on anyone. That's a hadith for every Muslim to say, we are all Muslimun, Mustaslimun, and we understand this principle. And we will not be of the people who make it tashaddud in the religion unnecessarily. The issue of the niqab, ikhtilaf, is it wajib, not wajib? The issue of witr, is it wajib, not wajib? Is ikhtilaf. 11 rakat, 20 rakat, ikhtilaf. Take it easy in the issues like this, because the religion that we're upon is a religion that everybody who has common sense is going to appreciate it. So I'm not going to sit here and read all of those ayat and hadith about how Islam makes things easy, but this is the introduction, the muqaddim. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wasallam brought a religion that he made things easy upon the people. And he said, Inna hadha ad-din mateen, wa lan yashad ad-din ahadun illa ghalaba. This religion is wide. There are a lot of things to do. It's deep, it's heavy. And anyone who tries to go overboard in the deen is going to overpower him. So the dawah of Qaeda, Boko Haram, and people like that, young whippersnappers who come and they want it, we say, this is not the deen. Calm down, brother. You're going to make a problem for yourself. So there are many dalil for that. Allah mentioned in the Quran, وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. Allah did not make things difficult for you in your religion. So this is seen throughout our religion. Salat, we have people in this masjid who are praying sitting down. Some of them start standing up and then they sit for the rest. Some of them sit from the beginning. That's permissible. That's permissible. That's the deen. It's easy. The one who is not sitting down can't come to the one who's sitting down and say, what are you doing? That's the deen. The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought the religion of Islam in the month of Ramadan. He mentioned, وَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. In the rukn of Islam, Ramadan, anyone who is traveling, anyone who is sick, traveling is connected to the issue today. Anyone who's traveling, anyone who's sick, you don't have to fast. Even if you're a weightlifter, even if you have good health, you don't have to fast. Make up those days later on, because the deen is yusr. The ayat went on to say, Allah wants for you ease. He doesn't want for you difficulty. Many of you, if not all of you, Allahu A'lam, have not made Hajj. You haven't made Hajj yet, a rukn from the arkan of al-Islam. But as long as you're alive and the window of opportunity is open, you're not atham, inshallah, you're not sinning. And we can go on and on and on. As it relates to combining the prayer when it's raining, the religion has been made easy to the degree that when the rain used to come down and it was not a torrential rainstorm, they said the bottom of our shoes were only wet, drizzling. The Prophet would tell the mu'adhin, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those who didn't come to the masjid, and praying in the masjid is wajib. It's wajib. According to some of the scholars, and I take that position. Praying in the masjid is wajib. You have the ability. Some scholars say it's not wajib. You have the ability, you should pray in the masjid. And yet the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the people when it was raining, when they were home, instead of saying, come to salat, he said, pray in your homes. Pray where you are, because it's raining. So he raised off of their shoulders responsibility of the wujub of coming to the masjid to make things easy for them. So that's the introduction. And many ayat could be mentioned, many hadith, but just want to get that point across. The issue of combining in the rain is not an issue to make things difficult for the people. It's not an issue for people to play around and have a tala'ub in the deen. Just going to combine, and you're at home. You didn't come to the masjid. You just combine when you want to combine. So the ease of al-Islam. As for the issue, there are a lot of statements, but we're not going to deal with all those statements. We're going to deal with what I perceive as being concise to the point, and then we'll keep it moving, inshallah. From the strongest proofs of what the scholars use to show the permissibility of combining the prayer, Dhuhr and Asr, 4 rakat, for Dhuhr, 4 rakat, for Isha, for Asr. And then combining for Maghrib, Isha, 3 rakat, for Salat al-Maghrib, and 4 for Isha. You have to pray them in totality. Are 3 hadith I want to bring to your attention. They're in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. And they're on the narration of Abdullah ibn Abbas. Now you got to listen to these 3 hadith and see the subtle differences in them, because it's important. Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, said that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed 7 rakat and 8 rakat. He prayed Dhuhr and Asr. He prayed Maghrib and Isha together. So one of his students, Ayub, said to him, لَعَلُّهُ كَانَ فِي لَيْلَةٍ مَطِيرًا. Well, maybe it's because it was in a night where it was raining that he did that. He was in Medina. He made Dhuhr 4, Asr 4, Maghrib 3, Isha 3. When his student Ayub heard that, he said, لَعَلُّهُ كَانَ فِي لَيْلَةٍ مَطِيرًا. Maybe he did that because it was raining. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said to the man in response, Asa, possibly, maybe, it's possible that's the reason. He didn't negate it. He didn't establish it. But when that companion, when that student from the Tabi'in heard that, combine the prayer, 7, he said, maybe he did that because the day that it was raining. He said, possibly, maybe. That's what Abdullah ibn Abbas said. That's the first dalil that's in Sahih al-Bukhari. Pay attention. The fiqh of al-Imam al-Bukhari, and he is from the fuqaha of al-Islam. He's a muhaddith, one of the greatest muhaddithin, but he's from the greatest fuqaha. And his fiqh comes in the way he makes the tabweeb of his chapters. He said about this hadith, and he called the chapter of this hadith the chapter of the permissibility of delaying Salat al-Dhuhr and Asr due to rain. So he saw the permissibility of combining Dhuhr and Asr and delaying Dhuhr to Asr. He saw it permissible if it was raining. So he's from those scholars who see that is permissible. Now this hadith is in Sahih Bukhari. The second hadith is also the hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas, and may Allah be pleased with him, similar to the first one, but there's a difference. So it's not necessarily the same hadith. Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, he said that the Nabi, the Rasul of Rahmah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he himself prayed Dhuhr and Asr together, Jami'ah. And he prayed Al-Maghrib and Al-Isha Jami'ah. Fi ghayri khawfin wala safarin. Ibn Abbas said Rasulullah prayed these prayers together in Medina combined, and he did it, and there was no fear of the enemy, like the enemy is going to come. And so you're allowed to combine. And he did it, and they were not traveling. They were in Medina. All right? Al-Imam Malik, concerning this hadith, Al-Imam Malik, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, said, Ara dhalika kana fi matarin. He said, I believe, Al-Imam Malik, he said, I believe that the Prophet combined those prayers like that in Medina because it was raining. The hadith never said that. But it goes to show that Imam Malik's understanding, he was trying to figure out, why would he combine like that? He said, I see that probably happened because it was raining, but it wasn't raining. Abdullah ibn Abbas said, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, that there was no khawf and there was no traveling. So Imam Malik said, well, I think it was because of the rain. Which brings the third hadith. But Imam Malik's statement is important, because Imam Malik, okay, he said there's no khawf, no fear, and he's not traveling, so he must have did it because of the rain. The third narration of the same hadith. And that hadith that we just mentioned, the second hadith, is in Sahih Muslim. And Imam Muslim put this hadith in the chapter. Look at his fiqh. He said, Bab al-jam'i bayn as-salatayn fil hadr. The chapter of the permissibility of combining between two prayers when you're not traveling, when you're stationary. So this hadith, pay attention, this hadith said there was no fear and there was no traveling. The third dalil, pay attention. The third dalil is also the hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas. He said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he prayed Salat al-Dhuhr and Salat al-Asr together. And he prayed Salat al-Maghrib and Salat al-Isha together. And there was no khawf and there was no matar. In this narration, Abdullah ibn Abbas said there was no fear and there was no rain. There was no fear and there was no rain. So the one before this, Ibn Abbas said that there was no khawf and they were not traveling. There was no fear. He did it. And the next one, and Imam Malik said, I think it was because it was raining. But Abdullah ibn Abbas said in this hadith, he negated that. There was no fear and there was no rain and there was no khawf. Now, concerning these three adillah, pay attention to this. Many scholars spoke about this, but we're only dealing with two of the contemporary scholars who we honor, we love, and respect. We don't make taqleed al-a'ma of them. They're not ma'asuman. They're not infallible. We don't agree with everything they say. That's not our religion, and that's not a salafiyah. You are astray if you think everything that a Sheikh Rabi al-Madkhali said is correct about someone or something. You are astray. Because he himself didn't say that, he doesn't believe that. Al-Albani, everything, well, you are straight. Everybody, as Imam Malik said, everybody gets it right and he gets it wrong, except who? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But I chose only these two contemporary scholars. So listen, concerning these three narrations. Shaykh ibn Baz, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, has a book, Fatawa Muhimma Tata'allaqu bis-Salat, the important fatwa that are connected to prayers. In page number 92 of this book, Sheikh Ibn Baz said, هذه أحاديث أصل في هذه المسألة. These three hadith that are mentioned, they are the asl in this issue. They are the umdah. They are the asl in this issue. He said, لا حرج في الجمع بين المغرب والعشاء ولا بين الظهر والعصر في أصح قولي العلماء للمطر الذي يشق معه الخروج إلى المسجد. Sheikh ibn Baz was Hanbali. The Hanbali scholars, when it comes to combining to the rain, they don't say you can just combine like that. They have ikhtilaf between them. Some of them say you only combine between Maghrib and Isha. That's it. Some of them say you can't combine. Some of them say the rain has to be torrential. So they're madhab, they're not muttafiqun. But anyway, Sheikh ibn Baz, who is a person of the Dalil, although he is Hanbali, he said these three ahadith are an asl in this issue of combining. He said there is no problem and no harm in combining between al-Maghrib and Isha, or combining between Dhuhr and Asr, in the strongest asah qawlay al-ulama, in the two positions of ulama. You can and you can't. He said you can. And he went against his madhab and he said you do it for Dhuhr and Asr, and you can do it for al-Maghrib and Isha. As a result of the rain that makes things difficult for people to go out to the masjid. That's the Sheikh ibn Baz in the book that I told you about. Fatawa Muhimma Tata'allaqu bis-Salat, page number 92. The second scholar who's contemporary is Sheikh Nasir ad-Din al-Albani. Are they greater than Ibn Rajab? No. Are they greater than Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani? La. Are they greater than Imam al-Nawawi in knowledge? Kalla. Are they greater than Ibn Taymiyyah? No. There are many scholars who are greater than these two, higher than these two. But they're the two contemporary scholars who we know. So I mentioned this one and this one and that one, and inshallah will have impact on people who know them, but many people don't know them. So anyway, the second scholar is a Sheikh Nasir ad-Din al-Albani, the muhaddith and the faqih. He said concerning this particular hadith where Abdullah ibn Abbas said, min ghayri khawfin wala matar, that he combined between Dhuhr and Asr, Maghrib and Isha, and there was no fear and there was no rain. Al-Albani said, you feel from this and you understand from this statement, there was no fear and there was no rain. You understand from that combining because of rain was something that was ma'ruf during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, and if it wasn't like that, then there would be no benefit in Abdullah ibn Abbas saying he combined and there was no khawf and there was no rain. So he said the reason for combining what he was saying because of permissibility of that. Al-Albani has a tremendous book called Irwa al-Ghalil. It's there, Irwa al-Ghalil, volume number 3, page number 40. Volume 3, 40. So Al-Albani concerning this and talking about it, he said when Abdullah ibn Abbas said, because the hadith has a understanding that comes from the mantuq, and his hadith has an understanding that comes from the mafhum. This is important. When he said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam combined, from what he said, you understand it's permissible to combine if it's raining, because he said it. It's the mantuq. But there's also what you understand from the words, and that is this point. He said he combined and there was no fear of the enemy and it wasn't raining. So you understand, if there was fear of the enemy, or if there was rain, or if he was traveling, then this is something that you do. Something that you do. So that's Al-Albani's position. Now we come to a really important, critical issue about what happened with Abdullah ibn Abbas. So listen to this. Authentic narrations. Listen to this. Those 3 narrations that I mentioned, listen to this. We mentioned from this minbar the Tabi'in Abdullah ibn Shaqiq al-Uqayli, who said, I met 30 of the companions. They all were afraid of nifaq on themselves. Each of them said that each one of them, they didn't say they had the iman like Jibril. Abdullah bin Shaqiq al-Uqayli, tremendous tabi'in, tremendous. So he said, rahimahullahu ta'ala, that a man from Bani Tamim said to Abdullah ibn Abbas, the narrator of those hadith, he said to him, he was talking to the people and he kept talking and talking and he wasn't praying, and it was time for prayer. Abdullah ibn Abbas, and the man said, As-Salat, we got to pray. Abdullah ibn Abbas said, be quiet. He kept talking and teaching. The man said, Salat, we have to pray. Abdullah ibn Abbas said to him, be quiet, uskut, be quiet. He kept talking. The man said, hey man, it's Salat. Abdullah ibn Abbas said to the man, La umma laka, atu'allimuna bis-salat, wa kunna najma' bayna as-salatayn ala ahdi Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Sahih Muslim. Abdullah ibn Abbas said to this man, the reason why he was delaying the prayer is because he combined the prayer with the people and he let the prayer go out. He said to that man, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. And then he said to the man, may you don't have a mother. La umma laka. May you not have a mother. It doesn't mean that. It's like the Prophet said to that man, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may your mother lose you. Faqadatka ummuka. Ya Rasulullah, will we be held accountable for everything we say? He said to Mu'adh, may your mother lose you, Mu'adh. I thought you knew the answer to that. You're going to be held accountable for what you say. Abdullah ibn Abbas said, may you have no mother. Are you going to teach me about the salat of the Nabi? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're going to teach me? He said, verily, we used to, the companions, we used to combine between the 2 prayers during the Prophet's time, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So did the companions do this? This is the hadith that is in Sahih Muslim that the scholars use of hadith when they bring all those hadith together. In another narration of this hadith, someone asked Abdullah ibn Abbas, why did he combine between Dhuhr and Asr, 8 rakat, Maghrib, Isha, 7 rakat? Why did he do that? He said, so that he doesn't make things difficult for his ummah. Part of that narration is the man from Beni Tamim who says, Salat. It's time for Salat. It's time for Salat. Be quiet, be quiet. You going to teach me about the Salat of the Nabi? He said, we used to combine between two prayers during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's collected by Imam Muslim. In another narration of that hadith, Abdullah ibn Abbas said, رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم جمع بين الظهر والعصر والمغرب والعشاء. I saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam combine between Dhuhr and Asr. He combined them. I saw him combine Al-Maghrib and Isha when he was stationary. So the Prophet did it, sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam. Listen to this hadith. What's the name of the Tabi'i? $50 for the one who can tell me. What's the name of the Tabi'i who narrated this issue of what happened with Abdullah ibn Abbas? Anybody? All right, that's it. That's it. The time is up. Abdullah ibn Shaqiq al-Uqayli. Listen, after all of this, shut up, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. Abdullah ibn Shaqiq al-Uqayli said, فَحَاكَ فِي صَدْرِي مِنْ ذَلِكَ الشَّيْء فَأَتَيْتُ أَبَا هُرَيرَةَ فَسَأَلْتُهُ فَصَدَّقَ مَقَالَتُهُ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمَا. Abdullah ibn Shaqiq al-Uqayli said, this thing that happened with Abdullah ibn Abbas, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. You're going to teach me? He said, this whole incident was something in my heart. What Abdullah ibn Abbas said and did, he wasn't easy to accept it. Combining like that, no rain, what? Combining? Just because that's Abdullah ibn Abbas. So when we have community member or any Muslim who says, I don't accept that, you can't look at him as being mutshaddid. You can't look at him as being someone who wants to make things difficult. This Tabi'i, he said, something was in my heart. So I went to Abu Huraira and I told him what happened. And Abu Huraira supported what Abdullah ibn Abbas said and did. Saddaqahu in the issue. And that's in Sahih Muslim, hadith number 491. Now we continue, inshallah, and we're almost finished. And that is the companions. May Allah Ta'ala have rahmah upon them and be pleased with them and pleased with us and have rahmah upon us. One of the narrators of the hadith is Safwan ibn Sulaim. He said, Jama'a Umar ibn al-Khattab bayna al-Dhuhr wal-Asr fi yawmin matir. He said that Umar ibn al-Khattab combined between Dhuhr and Asr on a day that it was raining. This hadith has been collected by Imam Abdul Razzaq As-San'ani in his book, Kitab al-Musannaf, which is a book that concentrates on what the companions did. It has some hadith in it. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ مِنْ أَحْدَثَ فِي أَمْرِنَا what's not from it. It has some hadith. But this book is for what did the companions do? That's what the concentration of the book is for. So he brought that narration that the Amirul Mu'mineen Umar, he did it. Another narration on the authority of Nafi', who said that Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with Abdullah ibn Umar and his father Umar, he said, كان الأمراء إذا جمعوا بين الصلاتين المغرب والعشاء في المطر جمع معهم. He said that Abdullah ibn Umar said that the leaders during the time of the companions, the Umara. Who were the Umara? The Umara, as the scholars of hadith say, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, and Muawiyah, and those who came after them. Abdullah ibn Umar said, whenever the leaders of the Muslims during our time, when the people combined between Salat al-Maghrib and Isha because of the rain, the leaders of those Muslims during the time of Abdullah ibn Umar, they would pray with them, and they would also combine. They would pray with them, and they would also combine. It's also established that Abdullah ibn Umar himself combined between Dhuhr and he combined between Asr. So in the first athar, he said that the Umara, the leaders of the Muslims, it could be Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman. I'm not saying, Wallahi, Abu Bakr. I'm not saying that. But his kalam is am, kana al-Umara. The Umara were doing this. So those Umara, if the people combine, the leaders of the Muslims didn't make inkar of that. They didn't stop that. And it's also established that Abdullah ibn Umar himself combined. And that's also in the book Kitab al-Musannaf al-Imam Abdul Razak al-San'ani, and other than that book. The last dalil that we want to share with you, brothers, the very last dalil, inshallah, is the statement of a Tabi'i. He's the son of one of the 10 people promised al-Jannah. His father is Abdurrahman ibn Auf. Abdurrahman ibn Auf had a son who was known by his kunya, Abu Salama. Abu Salama, the son of Abdurrahman ibn Auf, rahimahullah ta'ala, said, min as-sunnati al-jam'u bayn al-isha'ain fil matar. This is really important. He said, and he's from the Tabi'in who learned from the companions. He said, from the Sunnah. If Al-Albani said, this is from the Sunnah, people will pay attention to it. Because he's a man who produced all these books, and he's a sheikh in hadith. This man is from the Tabi'in. Keep that in mind. He was taught by the companions. Did he see the Prophet? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? No. Is he better than the companion? No. But he's from those 3 generations. He's from the Tabi'in. This is important. He said, from the Sunnah is to combine between Salat al-Maghrib and Salat al-Isha when it rains. And this is one of the reasons why some of the scholars say you only combine Maghrib and Isha. Why? Because the Tabi'i, this is a qa'idah, this is a principle in Usul al-Fiqh. The principle is, whenever a Tabi'i says, from the Sunnah is this or this or this, then because a Tabi'i is saying it, then that thing is considered to be from the Sunnah if there's nothing else that comes to show what he said was wrong. To show what he said is wrong. Now, I don't want to get too far off into this, but an example of that is when a companion, if a companion says something in Aqidah, he didn't say Rasulullah said this or that. That companion said, like Abdullah ibn Abbas said, Ayatul Kursi, Allahu la ilaha illahu al-hayyul qayyum, Ayatul Kursi. They asked, what is the Kursi? He said, the Kursi is the Mawdi' al-Qadamain, is the place of the 2 feet. He didn't say Rasulullah said that. There's no hadith that says that. But because he said something concerning the Aqidah, it's not fathomable. It's not possible for him to make ijtihad and the ghaibiyat. So as a result of that statement, this hadith has the ruling of being marfu', as if the Prophet said it. Because why else would Abdullah ibn Abbas say that? So that's a principle of Usul al-Fiqh. Similar to that principle is whenever a Tabi'i who was taught by the companion said, this is from the Sunnah. Now, if something comes to push away what a companion said in Aqidah, we reject it. We reject it. And if something comes to show, if a Tabi'i said this is from the Sunnah, and then something comes, a hadith and ayat to show that's not from the Sunnah, we're not going to accept what the Tabi'i said. So the Tabi, Abu Salama, the son of Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he told the people from the Sunnah is doing this combination between Salat al-Maghrib and Salat al-Isha if there's rain. Inshallah, I have a book by Sheikh Ali al-Halabi, rahmatullahi alayhi rahmatun wasiya, that you can get it on PDF. It's called Ahkam al-Shita, the rules and regulations of the wintertime. And that is a beneficial book. Things that we need to know about the wintertime. Why is it so cold when it gets cold? He'll bring those ahadith. The permissibility of not going to Jummah when it's very cold, and all of these things. And one of the chapters he brings in the book is the chapter of rain and snow and mud. And he brings these narrations. I'm going to send that to you, brothers. Ahkam Ash-Shita. He deals with that. So I meant to send it, but I got busy. But I'm going to send it to all of you, inshallah. I'm going to tell you, go to page 44, and you'll find him bringing some more information. More information, all right? Very quickly, and I have to mention this from the bab of the amana and the amana. The amana is like being truthful and trustworthy. Some of the scholars here in Florida, some of the ulama who I love, honor, respect, they would say, no, we shouldn't combine here in Florida, especially like in Florida, when the rain comes down, it's not a rain that changes the condition. Some of them said that the rain that allows you to combine is the rain that changes the condition. The souk closes down, marketplace closes down. There's no traffic outside. The traffic light shut down. There are no schools. They shut down the schools out of fear of the children, like they do for snow. So when the snow comes, it changes things. Things get locked down. The library, the hospital, no Uber, no this, no that. They say this is the type of rain that we should and we can combine. They said, why? Why? Because when it rains, the rain of Florida, even when it rains sometimes in the summertime, it rains. But we just keep it moving. The other day it was raining, and I went to my car, Imam's parking right in the Masjid. I started walking. I didn't like the feeling of the rain on me. I ain't like it. But after 5 steps, I was like, yeah, bring the rain. Let's do this. And I started making a tabarruk from the sunnah on the rain. I got in my car, went home, put those clothes and washed those. That was it. So those scholars say, why is it that we're going to be a people in Florida when it rains and we're used to it? Why is it that we still go to work, the marketplace is open, the Uber is open, the traffic lights are on, and it's not mushaqqa? We just live. But only for salat, we're going to make it mushaqqa, only for prayer. But we're not going to make it. We all go to work, all of us, whenever it rains. That's what they say. We don't have to take that. We don't have to take that. But in being fair and just, it's food for thought. So if a masjid on the sunnah chose not to combine, we shouldn't say they don't want the sunnah. They don't love the sunnah. If the imam of that masjid said, we're not going to combine, he has a point of view. And that point of view is, when it snows, they shut things down in New York. The bus is not running. The subway is not running. Your favorite matam, the restaurant, it's not open because it's difficult. Everything changed. Your kids are not in school. You don't go to work. And we're not going to come to the masjid. Or if you're in the masjid, you combine. But all of that happens when the rain and everything is normal, but only mashaqqa is in the masjid and praying. So the prayer, as Allah said in the Quran, many ayat, وَمَا قَدْرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ. The people did not consider Allah the way He's supposed to be considered. He told that man, إِنَّ اللَّهَ أَحَقٌ تَتَزَيَّنَ لَهُ. And in the riwayah, and يُتَزَيَّنَ لَهُ. Allah has more rights for you to dress nice for Allah. Not the job interview. You dress nice for the job interview. That's cool. But when you come to the masjid, don't wear your pajamas, man. When you come to the masjid, don't have isbal. When you come to the masjid, don't look like a bum. Be presentable, because Allah has more rights for you to dress like that. So that's the issue, Ikhwani, from my point of view. And I think that combining in the masjid is permissible. Now, if you're at home, should you combine? No, this doesn't count when you're at home. When it's raining, you combine because it's raining. This is for the people in the masjid. But if you have any extraordinary circumstances, extenuating circumstances, you have to take, as a medical doctor, medical student, you have to take a test that's going to last a long time. You're going to miss one of those prayers. Combine. You have to take an exam. Combine. You are a doctor. You're going to do a heart transplant. You're going to transplant someone's kidney, liver. Oh, go ahead and combine. You are a mother or something, and Salat al-Isha is 11:30. You're living in Denmark. You're living in Greenland. You're living here in America. It's very long hours. You have all these kids. You combine. You got a migraine headache. You combine today. But to combine every single day like that, la. Just like missing Salatul Jummah. Don't miss Salatul Jummah. But they're going to fire you at your job if you miss Salatul Jummah. So you feel the first time, second time, you got to look for another job. But I'm not going to say to anybody, don't go to Jummah. Don't work your job. I'm not going to say that to anybody. Everybody has to fear Allah. Everybody has to fear Allah. And people are on different levels of iman. But if you know you're never, ever, ever, you have resigned yourself to never going to Jummah, and you just said, no, you're going to have something close your heart, and you're going to be from the ghafilin, those people that Allah puts a seal on his heart and can't tell right from wrong. So our Lord, Al-A'la, Allah Azza wa Jal, he is Alam, and he is A'la. And this is the issue from my perspective. So with that, we're going to let the Sheikh give the adhan, bi-idhnillah, and then we're going to open up the door for questions. Hey, Sulaim, leave that thing going for the Q&A, okay? Look what you heard what I said? Allahu Akbar. We have 5 minutes, inshallah. If you brothers have any questions, elucidations, taliqat, comments, whatever, feel free. You can put it forward now. Yeah, concerning combining, is it the responsibility of the imam or is it the responsibility of the admin of the masjid? It depends on what system the particular institution is built upon. If that institution is built upon the admin, they make the calls with or without the imam. Then they make that call. So if the admin says no, the imam has to get with with the program and not go against what they say. If the system is that the admin gave the imam the permission to make that call, then he makes that call. If it's a question of everybody, the imam and the admin, they do it collectively, then it's done collectively. So it depends on what the system is. And we can say about our masjid, alhamdulillah, we always have admin who have their faces up in the source. They come to the classes. They are easily accessible. So it's not for the imam if he knows that the admin are against that. He would be doing something that's against the deen, even if he thought it was right. It's not his job. He is making tahyij and making khuruj against the people who are responsible. It shouldn't be done, even if he thought that was the right thing to do. So we make the adhan at the door. At the door. If the masjid here or the masjid say you're going to make the adhan right here, which is not the correct thing to do, the imam can tell them don't do that. But if that's what the admin is saying, then this is what we have to do. Because you're going to find in a religion room that that's permissible, or people took that position. And we're not telling the people do something haram, although the other position is stronger. Zaid, how you doing, brother? You pray 2 rakats to the masjid? Anybody else? So if the people combine the prayer like Dhuhr and Asr or Maghrib and Isha, does the Imam who combine Dhuhr and Asr or Maghrib and Isha, does he have to stay for that next prayer that people will come to and they weren't there to combine anything? That goes back to the shura and what's going on. It's like the issue of the Eid being on Friday. If the Eid is on Friday, you pray the Salat of al-Eid, and then the Salat of al-Jum'ah is off of everybody else. But the admin says, no, the Imam, your job, you come to the masjid and you give the khutbah, and you eat that lahm later on, after the Jum'ah. You eat that the biha after. And the imam doesn't say to the people, no, I have a right to, no. That's what he has to do, because that's what the admin and the people in authority said. That's what they said. So it's going to go back to those administrative issues. And that's why it's really important that we have to respect the admin. Now I want to bring this point to the table as well. We have some people in our masjid who, as soon as the time for salat hits 2 o'clock, 6:30, they start getting up. And if the imam is not in front of them, they even make noise. Where you at? What are you doing? What are you doing? You got to stop that. You got to stop that. It's not from the sunnah. You stay sitting down. If the imam is in the office, he's making wudu, he's sitting, he's talking to someone, he's over there reading or something, and it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, don't jump up and down. When I had the COVID, I heard that someone was at Jummah and the brother from Tampa came late and someone was saying, when are we going to start Jummah? When are we going to start Jummah? Because he got caught in traffic. Brother, just relax. Relax. You here from 1:30 to 2 o'clock to listen to the khutbah. Even if it's 1:45, 10 minutes to 2. You would have been listening to the khutbah anyway. Make salah, make dhikr. But don't scream out like that. And don't make izaj and don't make that noise. Don't make that noise. So moving forward, the imam, wait until the imam comes in front, and then we make the iqamah and stuff like that. Now, obviously, the imam can't be waiting 15, 20, 30 minutes. But because it's a few minutes, don't be jumping up. Any more questions, Ikhwani? Good question, Abu Imran. Yes, salam. If you combine Salat al-Dhuhr, al-Maghrib and Isha, al-Maghrib and Isha, do you pray the witr? Allahumma na'am. Because the Prophet did not leave the Salat of al-Witr, whether he was stationary, muqim, or whether he was traveling. But those other prayers, when you combine Dhuhr and you combine Asr, praying the Sunnahs before that, no. The companion, Abdullah ibn Umar, was traveling, and one of his Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was traveling, and they shortened the prayer while they were traveling. And his student was next to him. He said, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum. And the student got up to make the nafila. He grabbed him and sat him down and said, what are you doing? He said, I'm going to make the sunnah, nawafil. He said, this is why we combine, this is why we shorten, because Allah took that off of us. We're traveling. You don't have to do those things. So yes, you pray the witr, how you normally pray and how it is prayed. It's something that should be done. And as we said, Allahu a'la wa a'lam. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.